Hello, my brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode of your Daily Armor. Today's topic, finger on the trigger and pulling out the slack. I loved working swing shift. There was something special about it. It was the busiest shift of the three. It just seemed like the city would come awake at night. Yeah, there were your normal calls that would keep you busy, but there was always something new and always something different. And we were always bouncing around from call to call. It seemed like some nights we didn't even have time to breathe. But I thoroughly enjoyed that. So one night, about 9 o'clock, we received a call of a suicidal subject. The caller stated that her friend had a gun and he wanted to commit suicide. So my partner and I, we raced to the scene. So we'd been in this complex before. We were pretty familiar with it. But we'd never been to this particular apartment. So it was dark as we approached, came around the corner. We saw the female subject, the caller, the woman who had called us. She was crying. She told us that her friend had a gun and wanted to kill himself. I'd like to say that it doesn't happen very often, but it does. So I asked her, where is he? She's like, he's inside the apartment. So I relayed the information over the radio to all the responding units, and my partner and I slowly approached. As I came around the corner, had my gun drawn, of course, I see this male sitting in the middle of the living room, facing the door. He's seated there, Indian style. He was crying. I looked in his hands, trying to see if I could find a gun or anything. In his right hand, I saw what looked like a black handgun. Not good. So I immediately retreated. There was a pillar between these two apartments. I immediately retreated behind this pillar where I could still see him, but I had a little bit of cover. Gun came up, gun get right at him. I raised my voice. I told him, drop the gun. Confidently, drop the gun. He turned and looked at me with hollow eyes. I just continued to cry. He kept repeating these words. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And he just kept crying. And I kept telling him, drop the gun, drop the gun. Now, mind you, this was the days before mental health was really a priority. Before people really cared about people taking their own lives. So here I stood, my finger had moved onto the trigger, right? Because action always beats reaction. And unfortunately, the reality is that sometimes people don't want to live, and sometimes they want to take you with them. So here I am facing this reality, and I'm yelling at him because I didn't know what else to do. All I saw was a man with a gun in his hand. That's all I saw. And that to me was a threat. So for about 30 seconds, I yelled at him, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. I sounded like a broken record. Drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. I started to realize that my yelling wasn't getting me anywhere. And he slowly started to raise the gun up to his temple. And he put the barrel up against his temple. See, at this point, then I started to talk to him and say, hey, man, you don't want to do this. This is not something you want to do. And without realizing it, right, subconsciously, here I am with my gun pointed at him. Here I am slowly starting to pull the slack out of the trigger. Because that was my training. That's what I was trained to do. This man's life was hanging in the balance. I lowered my voice. Just started to talk to him. Asked him what his name was, where he was from. Anything that I could think of that would get his thoughts out of his mind. Like where was he thinking about going? Why was he thinking about going there? Like anything to distract him. Anything that would give him purpose. And I slowly saw life start to come back into his eyes. See, I talked to him about the decision he was making and who it was affecting other than just him. Because life wasn't just about him. That his life was worth living, right? That he had something to contribute. After what seemed like eternity, he slowly started to lower the gun down to his side. Eventually, I was able to get him to put it down and slowly crawl out towards me. Once we had him in cuffs, so he couldn't hurt himself or anyone else, we went inside and we cleared the apartment. I grabbed the weapon, performed a safety check, and realized that not only was it loaded, but there was one in the chamber. How close he was to actually taking his life. What in his life was going so wrong that this is the option that he would choose? This man at any point could have chosen to take his own life. At any point. Or he could have caused me to do the same. I was trying to connect with them and I found it hard. See, because like most people nowadays, I buried my feelings and my emotions. I buried them deep down inside. My only concern was just getting the job done. See, I didn't understand what he was going through until a few years later when my life started to fall apart. And I realized just how many things I'd buried inside. And as my life started to crumble, I slowly started to spin out of control. And I too at times wondered, is my life worth living? I had abandoned my family. I had abandoned God. I was a financial train wreck. If it wouldn't have been for some close friends and some guidance from a mentor, I don't know where my life would be right now. See, eventually I found the warrior's way, and by doing the work, got to where I am right now. Which seems, or makes it seem like those days were just a dream. But they weren't. See, each of us has a breaking point. Most of us don't know where it is. Each of us has a point where we can't take it anymore. But I want you to understand something. I want you to understand that you are not alone. It's okay to have these feelings. It happens to everyone. But understand that tomorrow is a new day. A new day to start fresh. A new day to move forward. To create something new. And that is something that we must hold on to. See, the issue is not that we have these thoughts and feelings. The issue is that most of us haven't been taught to deal or how to deal with these thoughts and feelings. We think that nobody understands us. We think that we're the only ones that are going through this. We think that we should be immune, that we shouldn't feel, that we shouldn't think, because that's what society has taught us. See, but that's a lie. That's a lie that you've been told your whole life. You're just like everyone else. You're scared. You're unsure. You have fear. You don't know every day if it's going to work out. And acknowledging that is the first step on the way out. There is a path, there is a way. Now, the reason that Warrior Guardian exists is very simple. The reason Warrior Guardian exists is to help people get out of this type of a situation, is to help people find their way out. Because no life is not perfect. But it also doesn't have to be this way. So ask yourself, where in your life have you been hiding feelings and emotions? Does it have to do with your body and your disappointment? Does it have to do with God and your disconnection? Does it have to do with your family and the fact that you haven't been there for them? Or that you feel separated, or that you feel lost? Does it have to do with the fact that you're a financial train wreck and you don't even know how to handle money? Whatever it is, know that there is a way out. I invite you to explore Warrior Guardian. I invite you to explore what it offers. A way out. So you can go to warriorguardian.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Warrior Guardian. You can subscribe to YouTube at The Real Warrior Guardian. But remember, freedom comes from release. So don't be afraid to just let it go. Because tomorrow is a new day. And tomorrow is a good day.